All right, so today we are going to be talking about the Sandbox balance updates that are coming to Halo Infinite with the new winter update that drops on November 8th. You guys excited for this or what? Because I'm pretty excited. They're happy where the Sandbox is overall, but there's always room for improvement. So pretty much what they've heard from community feedback on what they need to change. First things first is the plasma pistol. The plasma pistol is getting some tuning, so that way the plasma charge can hit the players better. So it increased the base shot damage. So also when you just shoot the plasma pistol, the regular base damage went from 20 to 28. So when you actually just shoot at a player, you can actually potentially kill them now. Because I know that whenever you'd have somebody that's like broken shields, your other gun needs to be reloaded, you just try and plasma shoot them. It takes forever to kill them. So they increased the base shot damage, which is nice. Also the charge shot velocity, they increased to 20 to 35 degrees per second. So that way when it goes towards somebody, I'm assuming that means that it can actually chase them better. Whereas right now, if you charge it up and you shoot it, it just kind of like barely goes toward them. Same with charge shot guided angular velocity. So seems like the charge shot is getting a nice buff, so that way it actually can chase down players and hit them properly as it's supposed to. And then the base damage from just shooting is increased. So these are good things for the plasma pistol. Hopefully plasma pistol will be a little bit more viable. Still doesn't EMP vehicles though, which is kind of still an interesting change for Halo for me in general. All right, so next on the list we got the Pulse Carbine. The Pulse Carbine, what they did to tune this and make it better is, again, increase the guided angular velocity like they did with the plasma pistol. I'm assuming that this, I don't really know entirely what angular velocity means, but I'm assuming that that just means how fast it can, like the bullets curve. So it seems like they brought that down a little bit. They increased the targeted leading fraction. I don't really know what that means either. An increased guided projectile error radius. Pretty much what this is going to do though is it's going to make this weapon, the Pulse Carbine, more effective at short to mid range and reduces its effectiveness at longer ranges. So normally when you go to Pulse Carbine a player that's up really close to you, you miss quite often with it. So they tuned it so that way it works better at short to mid range. So that's pretty nice for the Pulse Carbine. And I'm wondering how that works for long range, if you're able to strafe out of the way. Because right now, if somebody just ADSs across map with a Pulse Carbine, they can just lock onto you and they're destroying you. All right, so next change is the Commando. This is the this is gonna be an interesting one, right? So to help increase the effectiveness up close, we've slightly increased bullet magnetism and slightly reduced high minimum error. So they've seen that it helps players finish off targets at close range during internal play tests. So they increased headshot prioritization angle, which I don't really know what that does other than guarantee more headshots with increasing bullet magnetism. Increased aim assist, which is interesting, and decreased minimum error angle. So the Commando gets a huge buff, which is kind of nuts because the Commando already was an insanely good weapon, really good if you know how to use it. So people like Lucid, who's a professional player for Optic Gaming, that man shreds, absolutely shreds with the Commando, and they're buffing it. So Commando might end up becoming like one of the best weapons, way better than the battle rifle, because later on in the patch notes we see a battle rifle debuff. They nerfed the battle rifle, so One thing that I would have liked to have seen with this is the backup ammo for the Commando increased a little bit, because the reserve ammo for Commando, it's like you can get like 4 kills with the Commando and you're out of ammo. All right, so on to the next one is the battle rifle. With the battle rifle, they wanted to raise the skill ceiling on landing the final kill shot, as well as reducing its effectiveness at range from the hip. These increases should help make kills with the BR-75 feel even more rewarding. So, headshot prioritization angle was reduced. So it's going to be harder to land headshots, I guess. Bullet magnetism was also reduced. Bullet magnetism range is also reduced. And bullet magnetism fall off range was also reduced. So, big time nerf for the battle rifle. So they buffed the Commando and nerfed the battle rifle. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how it feels and how it plays. So for me, I think that this won't affect too much. I don't think. I think that if you were still good with the battle rifle, you're still going to be really good with the battle rifle. Just makes it just a tiny bit harder to hit those headshots and stuff. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. I think that the professional Halo players are going to be happy with this, making the battle rifle just a little bit harder to use, because that's the main starting weapon. So you wanna show that there's some skill involved with being able to shoot the gun. All right, so next on the list, frag grenades. As we know, the frag grenades are like nuclear bombs in this game. They are absolutely nuts. The grenades like detonate almost instantly. So what they did is they are giving players more time to react to the grenade that landed near them by increasing the detonation timer by 0.2 seconds. I'm interested to see how this plays out, because as of right now, when somebody chucks a grenade at you and you see it coming, you're almost like dead, because you can't get out of the way of it. Like, even if it lands near your feet and you try and run away, you're still taking massive damage from that grenade. Like, and the grenades like stick to you. They're all like heat seekers. Also, just being able to get away from grenade in general is pretty nice. So we all know that the frag grenades are incredibly overpowered. So glad that we're seeing a change. I don't know if this is the one that we need, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so next thing that we're going to talk about is this snap slide. This one is pretty funny for me, because there are like very, 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 very few people in the game that can snap slide. Snap sliding is not curb sliding, by the way. Curb sliding is when you run off of a surface and then you time your crouch perfectly to get a nice slide, and it slides you even further. Snap sliding is when you land on an upward facing surface. You do a certain movement and you can then slide up the ramp. It's called snap sliding. Not many people can do it at all, period. The fact that they're removing it is kind of funny to me, because I mean, it didn't affect a whole lot with the game flow and everything, and people that could actually do it, it's really hard to do in the first place. So not many people are doing it or practicing it, and I didn't really feel like it needed to be taken away. But all the people that are complaining about it being taken away are people that probably can't even snap slide anyway. So that's why I find it very comical, because like everyone crying about it can't even snap slide. So it's kind of funny, except for the pros. You know, the pros are kind of upset about it, but I don't really understand, because I don't think that it's that impactful for the game, snap sliding. Maybe in the future with ways that people could integrate it into maps, maybe, but as of right now, it's not that big of a deal. All right, Disruptor. I like this Disruptor change a lot. All they're really doing with it is they increase the magazine ammo count from 10 to 12, which is great, because in order to get a kill with those 10 bullets, you have to be insanely accurate. And even then, you might just get the the DOT, which is damage over time, where it actually like EMPs them. So increasing that to 12 is going to be nice, I think. Especially when people are playing like King of the Hill and stuff, and you can use that Disruptor to then get them out of the hill by shooting the pad. All right, so later on in the article, they talk about desync, which Sam, aka Snickerdoodle, you're so funny. You said this is everyone's favorite word. It is not. I am not a fan of desync. So they talk about desync and how they plan on fixing all of it. There are many different things that are causing desync, and they're narrowing it down and finally figuring out some answers. They're able to reproduce some of it on their play tests internally, and so they're working on it, which is nice. There's going to be also some PC mouse and keyboard improvements that they're going to be working on. They're also going to be adding red reticle on the PC, which is nice. Also scroll wheel. So this thing is funny that they talk about right here, because I feel like this happens to me on controller as well. This says that when using the scroll wheel to swap weapons, sometimes it double swaps, essentially YYing, which is pressing the Y button twice. But I feel like even on controller, when I press the Y button once, sometimes it'll YY for me when I don't want it to. So I feel like that might be a bug with just weapon swapping in general. So I'm not sure. All right, and then this one is the walk key. Walking on mouse and keyboard has two modes: full walking speed or crouch walking. On controller, you can choose to walk slowly. Since keyboards only have walk forward and one full speed option, we'll be introducing a way for them to walk at a slower speed without needing to fully crouch. Well, that's pretty interesting. Wonder how they're going to integrate that. Like you push down your key like halfway. Nah, imagine. Just kidding. All right, so here is the network desync improvements that they're talking about. So these are the multiple forms, of desync that we have, or the things that are happening that they know about. So with desync, this is when the server says you're in one place on the map while your client shows that you're in a different spot, which is all the clips that you see. I posted one the other day where I was pretty much jumping up to a ledge and I got shot through a wall. That's what it shows, but probably on the server, I was probably on the other side of the wall. Not really sure if that qualifies for desync or if that's under this one, getting shot around walls or corners. Absolutely nuts, but at least they know that these things are happening, and they're openly saying like, all right, we understand that this is happening and we're trying to fix it. Blank shots, they go on to talk about the blank bullets later in the article. But when you shoot a weapon, you see them connect to the person, but the bullets don't deal any damage. This one has happened to me, like unloading a full clip of a battle rifle. This one, getting shot around walls or corners. You think you're safely around the corner, but you are dealt a fatal blow from a player who's no longer has a line of sight. And then ghost melees is just where you go to melee a player and there's no damage. So like I said, they're able to reproduce this stuff internally, but what they're saying about ghost melees is hitting a player and seeing them walk away unscathed, or worse, hitting you back and killing you is very frustrating. Yes, it is. It's very frustrating. We focus on this one due to how unfun it can be. We're happy to say that we are testing some improvements for a few different bugs that were resulting in melee registration issues, so that's good. Blank shots. As we mentioned a bit above, the fake reload issue is one reason contributed to why players have blank shots. We also know that there's other instances of shots not counting aside from fake reloads. We'll be going after those too, and we're happy to be bringing this out first. So what they talked about with the reload is like the client side, or like on your screen, it shows you reloading, but it didn't properly execute in the client side. So it shows that you have a full clip and it looks like you're shooting, but on the server side, you don't actually have ammo in your clip and you're not shooting anything. It's kind of insane, but apparently that's what's happening with that. And then vehicle desync, since we've seen that players are more likely to experience full desyncs when operating a vehicle than moving around as a Spartan, we set our sights on crushing bugs in this space. You can expect some targeted vehicle desync improvements in the next update. There will still be more work to do on networking and desync on specific issues above and others that may arise, but we're making it a priority and you should see a steady flow of improvements in future updates, which is awesome. We need this. We absolutely need this for players to want to continue to play the game and actually want to play daily. We definitely need to see all of these desync fixes happening. I agree with this statement though, that vehicle desync happens more often than anything else. The vehicles can get really wonky in this game. So more balance updates are happening. And this is to the sandbox in general. So drop shotting, which is dropping your weapon and having it switch to your secondary weapon insanely fast. For like the hold this metal. Pretty much what they go on to talk about in this is that they are nerfing the drop shot and they are bringing it to the same speed of like switching weapons. So if you are, you know, let's say using that mangler drop shot meta that people are doing, you get 2 shots with a mangler and then you drop your weapon and then it pulls out your battle rifle like instantly and you could shoot. Well, now once you do that, it's going to take more time to pull the battle rifle out as if you're switching weapons. So nerfing the whole drop shot thing, which I'm assuming they're going to keep the hold this metal, but it kind of like, I felt like that was like the main purpose of why they created the hold this metal. It was like for this meta, but we'll see. All right, the next thing on the list is the thruster. So they noticed that the thruster comes out on top with the 1v1 engagements more than they were intending. So they're going to be adjusting it. They don't really talk about what they're doing yet in this, but they are talking about adjusting the thrust. I think that the main issue with the thrust is like, especially with controller players, like it breaks aim assist very heavily, and there's like almost no way of getting back on that player. Like to stay on them while they're thrusting is borderline impossible. Like I don't even think the pros can do it. Like it's kind of nuts. So I'm interested to see what they do with the thruster. The energy sword. This is huge. This is huge. We might actually see the pros use the swords on the maps again. Imagine that. No, probably not. I don't know. We'll see. But what they say is to help bring the sword in line with where they would like, they're updating the melee trade logic. Yes. And what that means is if you are fighting a player that has a sword, you get them down to low or no shields, and then you melee them at the same time they melee you, you'll actually get a trade. Whereas before, if both players are no shields, they melee each other, the player with the energy sword will still survive with a sliver of health, which is absolutely broken. It makes the sword like the best weapon in the game. That's why all the pros don't want to play with it on competitive maps and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that this kind of might bring the sword back. I'm not sure if players are still going to want to play with it, but the melee sword trading is huge. That was like in all Halos. I don't know why they tried changing it for this one, but I'm glad they're bringing it back. The last thing is competitive weapon respawn timers. As of right now, the competitive weapon respawns are very fast and allows matches to snowball pretty quickly. So they're reducing how quickly weapons respawn, as well as how many of each weapon can be on the map at a given time in ranked arena. So, you know, there can't be just like 10 rocket launchers just because they respawn at a certain time or whatever. So All right, so this is gonna be good for competitive, and all of the balance changes that they talk about in this are absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. I am very excited for the winter update, and I'm excited for all the desync fixes that are going to be happening. I don't know exactly what desync fixes are going to be fixed for the winter update, but I'm excited for the future, and it's looking good. They're finally like proving that they're listening to the community feedback and trying to do everything to make the game better for all of us. So I'm excited. Looking forward to the future. Let me know what you think.